Welcome to Armchair Expert. I'm Dak Shepard. I'm joined by Monica Padman.
It's the end of the year.
We get to do our third best of.
Yes, it's so fun.
It really is.
What a year.
Yeah. I mean, for a lot of people, it was a real shit show, a real shitty year.
Yeah.
But man, I had a lot of great times this 2020. Best year of our show.
Well, going through all the clips and stuff and looking at our roster from this year, I mean, it's easy to just be on the hamster wheel. But I just learned it's hamster, not hamster.
Right, the hamster wheel.
The hamster wheel.
Also, it's your hamstring, not your hamstring.
Okay, that I knew.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's easy to just be in the mode of working and paying attention to what's next. But when you get to look back, I was so grateful. What a wonderful year for the podcast.
Yeah, and I hope when people listen to these, maybe their own memory will take them back to like where they were at on a road while they were doing their morning walk or their jog or something fun they were doing while they heard this. So maybe it'll trigger a lot of fun memories for everyone else. We're so grateful, of course, that all y'all make this possible for us. You're making our dreams come true. So thank you, and I hope you guys enjoy the best of 2020. We get support from Quince.
So we've been talking about Quince a lot lately, and as we head into fall, it's the perfect time to reset your wardrobe with their amazing pieces. I think it's so fun to do when the seasons turn over to just spruce up your wardrobe with a couple specials, and Quince is the place.
Totally. We're talking organic cotton, Mongolian cashmere, tailored chinos from just $60. Premium fit and quality you'd expect from a luxury brand designer. I love Quince. You know, I like it understated and subtle, and I like stuff that has high quality. And Quince checks all those boxes.
I love a lot of stuff from Quince. Honestly, they have incredible premium denim, which is very important for fall. It's pretty much all I wear in the fall is denim. And Quince has such a good selection of quality denim. Their stuff is so versatile, timeless, and built to last that you just grab every single day without thinking.
Right. And all of that for 50 to 80% less than similar brands. They go direct to ethical factories, cut out the middlemen, so you get all that quality without overpaying for it.
We love that. And they do way more than clothes. They have bedding, cookware, bath essentials, travel must-haves, same deal, and great quality.
Upgrade your everyday. Download the Quince app for app-exclusive offers or go to quince.com/Dax. Get free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada and the UK too. That's QUINCE.com/Dax. We get support from Apple Gift Card. Back to school is here, and for many, that means some big life transitions. Whether they are heading into a new grade or setting up a dorm for the first time, you want to give them something that actually supports their growth and success. Apple Gift Card is a versatile solution because it takes the guesswork out of gifting. It's not just about a new pair of AirPods for focus. It's about giving them the invaluable chance to choose the digital tools and subscriptions that suit their unique journey. They can use it for productivity apps on the App Store, movie nights on Apple TV, or extra iCloud storage for all those new memories. With Apple Gift Card, it's so empowering to give the students their freedom to allocate their own resources. Celebrate their new academic chapter. Visit applegiftcard.apple.com to celebrate their milestones and gift one today.
He's an armchair expert. He's an armchair expert. He's an armchair expert.
Let's start by saying that we are self-quarantined. We're recording in Rob's garage outhouse lean-to. He's got his own little studio now at his new house, and we're in here, and it's wonderful.
Yes.
And he has better internet than we have at the attic. So while we continue to interview people, which we're going to do for the people who've reached out and are worried that we will slow down in any way, we are not going to slow down. In fact, we're going to pick up the pace. We're probably going to offer some other distractions for you, some lighthearted distractions. So those will all be coming. But for now, we're going to get our arms around what we're all going through.
From episode 261, Yuval Harari.
Yeah, the people in the 50s wanted to go back to the 30s. The 30s wanted to go back to the 10s. You just follow it all the way down the rabbit hole. Yeah, and you're back in the Rift Valley.
Exactly. Now, I would say that there is still a lot of sense also in conservatism. I think that a good society needs both. It needs
Me
both
too.
some progressive people that push forward and also conservatives, because these experiments in building human societies, they very often fail. I think, you look at conservative philosophers like Edmund Burke in the 18th century, observing the French Revolution, and they made some very, very good points. When you try to go all the way, like building a new society from scratch, it's very often an arrogant enterprise because you think that you completely understand the world and how to build a perfect society, and it never works. Even revolutions need to be gradual. You compare, let's say, the Russian Revolution or the French Revolution, which they try to build an entire society. Let's just throw away everything that was until now and start from scratch. And what you get is Stalin and the gulags, or in the case of the French Revolution, you get the guillotine and then Napoleon. And the American Revolution was far more conservative and mild. Okay, let's take it slowly, step by step. Don't change everything at one time. And it had its downsides, but also humans just don't have the ability to predict the outcome of everything they do. So when you really try to change everything at once, there is a big danger there.
From episode 255, Isabel Wilkerson. Well, yeah, and I'm going to go further. You're already at the apex of everything you could have transcended, right? So you're already representing the New York Times. I'm assuming you're dressed smartly.
Yes.
You're speaking in the manner that they would desire. Everything's been done.
Right.
And you can't shake that. You
No.
can't transcend that.
And that's why I make a distinction between class versus caste and race. So I will say that caste is the bones, race is the skin, and class is the accents, the diction, the education, the clothing, the kind of things that we can change about ourselves in order to move up or to reposition ourselves. And so I often say, too, that if you can act your way out of it, it's class. But if you cannot act your way out of it, it's caste.
Oh, interesting. So that's the distinction. Will you repeat that?
So if you can act your way out of it, it's class. If you cannot act your way out of it, it's caste. There's nothing more that I could do.
So then clearly African Americans are most obviously the ones that can code switch. You can do all that.
Yeah.
But right, you couldn't have done anything there. So that would demonstrate caste.
Yeah.
Who else are we putting in that category? I would say females, right?
Yes, absolutely. And that's why I use the word caste to focus in on the infrastructure that is underneath all of it. Because caste is not only about race, it's about gender, it's about immigrant status, it's about the physical manifestation that is a signal to the subconscious of anyone we might meet as to where you belong, what is expected of you, where you presumably do not belong.
From episode 7, Monica and Jess love boys with Esther Perel.
But when you go on a date, or when you go and you just even live in a situation where suddenly somebody catches your attention, you are so busy focusing on your fears that you're having a relationship with this little thing that sits on top of your shoulder that says, be careful, don't. Watch out. You don't know. You don't even know. And say to this one, you've been really nice to me, protector of mine. You've been so sweet. For 32 years, you've made sure, but I think I'm okay. I don't need you in this way.
Yeah.
And this one is going to convince you. No, you need me badly. You need me badly. You don't know how dangerous and cruel the world can be. You're going to give all this power to people. The moment you love, you give power to others and they can hurt you. And this is part of love. Yes, it is. Love doesn't come without loss and doesn't come without fear, but it comes with a lot of other things too. I would want you to invite another one to sit on the other side. You need that other one that just has a dialogue here and says, would you please be quiet for a moment and just turn off this volume? Let me even be here and enjoy the situation, see what happens.
Yeah.
From episode 258 with Matthew McConaughey. So Matthew's mom enrolled him or entered him into a like Little Mr. Texas.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, we
Little
need a
Mr.
picture
Texas
of that.
badge. Oh, there's one in the book. He is the cutest motherfucker you've ever seen. I don't want to ruin it for you, so just tell us about Little Mr. Texas.
Yeah, so we go down to Bandera, Texas. I'm like 8 years old. Oh, man, got my vest on, made out of a leather vest, tassels. I got my cowboy hat. I go down there to Bandera, Texas, and we get up there and we do the questionnaire and we walk on a horse and stuff and throw a lasso. And I'm pretty good at all these things. And, you know, win the trophy. And there's a framed picture of me with the trophy, and Mom puts it up in the kitchen on every morning. Look at you, son. There you are, Little Mr. Texas, the one and only Little Mr. Texas. And so this going on daily, weekly, and then her introducing me. This is my son. You know he won Little Mr. Texas. He is Little Mr. Texas. Goes on, and now I'm just like, yeah, I'm Little Mr.
Yeah.
Texas. Well, this goes on for,
Little Miss.
decades. Yeah, not
He
years,
grew up
decades.
thinking he was Little Mr. Texas.
Okay.
Well, I was Little Mr. Texas. I was Little Mr. Texas. Until I happened to zoom in on that trophy, name the plate on that trophy one day just a couple years ago. Runner up.
No. Oh my God.
Runner up.
Look what the gift she gave you.
Oh, and she did, and she always to this day I called her out on it just here recently. She was like, well, you were Little Miss Texas. That's something. He and his family had too much money. They were able to buy that 3-piece suit and shit for him. You're Little Miss Texas. She still denies it.
From episode 269
with
Hillary Clinton. I just have a quick question. Going back to transitions and you moving into the public stage, I've wondered this since the 2016 election. Like I'm wearing my Nasty Woman shirt right now.
Yes.
Kristen, me, and Dax's sister Carly on election day, we went out, we went to the polls, we brought donuts. Like we were so excited. And for you, like you're carrying around the weight of me, of the girl down the street. You're walking around with all of this pressure on your shoulders of all these little girls like, I'm dying for this to happen. I need this to happen. That's so much. Like, it's no unfair of all of us. I mean, we can't help it, but it's unfair of us to be projecting all of that energy onto you.
But Monica, I felt that. I mean, you have described it to a T. I really felt the weight of history, the weight of expectation. I mean, the thousands of, girls and young women who showed up at my events and they'd be wearing the T-shirts, and it just had such a sense of possibility. Yeah. And I think you've rightly pointed out one of the most difficult transitions I ever had to go through was unexpectedly, not becoming president, because I thought I was on the path to being the president. I had a very clear idea of what I wanted to do to, deal with a lot of the serious problems we face. And for at least 2 years, very intensely at first and then beginning to taper off, people would come up and throw their arms around me and sob on my shoulder. They would be with tears streaming down their face. There were a lot of young women who came up and apologized to me because they said they didn't vote because they didn't think I needed them to vote. I'm so happy that voting has gone up in the last 2 elections, particularly this one. So I felt the burden on an almost daily basis that I feel like I let you down. I'm so sorry. I don't exactly understand what happened, and we've learned more. And then I, said, look, I got to write a book about this because I can't figure it out. And none of the quick takes on it made sense to me. And so I did. I wrote a book called What Happened because it was a perfect storm of all sorts of forces at work. And thankfully, people learned, about the Russians interfering. They learned about all of the disinformation on Facebook and everything that influenced voters. They had a chance to digest that, and it didn't have as big an impact, certainly in 2018 or in this 2020 election. But it was hard. That was a really tough transition. I love going for long walks. It's my mental health exercise.
Me too.
And I like to go in the woods.
You nasty women love your long walks.
We nasty women, we love these long walks. And
What are you guys doing on those walks?
Where I live in New York, there's lots of places to walk that are, pretty nice. And so, oh my gosh, like
3 days after the election, I was back in the woods. I wasn't sure I was ever coming out. And I walked on a trail past a young woman who had a baby in her backpack and had a dog on a leash. And I kind of nodded at her, and she took like a step past, just started to cry, said, I've got to talk to you. I've got to see you. We took a picture. She posted it. And then, all the walking in the woods memes started up. But incredibly emotional for me, too, because up until that point, I'd basically been just in my house, feeling incredibly distressed. So getting out there and beginning to go back to stores, go to the theater, go out to, restaurants with my friends, I began interacting with people who kind of oddly, I think we're also having a transition, if you will, transition from their hopes and expectations. And the level of grief, I mean, if you talk about the stages of grief that so many people went through, I think it's one of the reasons why people are exhaling right now. This election was closer than it should have been. It's hard to believe that, millions more people than had voted for him the first time saw what he'd been doing and saying and wanted more of it. But nevertheless, the election repudiated him and elected an honorable and decent man and an incredible woman to be our leaders. So I think people are kind of almost saying, I want to get back to not having to worry about politics. I want to get back to normalcy. I want to, sleep through the night. I don't want to be scrolling on Twitter, seeing what terrible thing is going to happen or be said.
Yeah.
So a lot of transition is happening right now.
Episode 188, Men's Bodies, with Rob McElhaney and Kumail Nanjiani.
Well, also, what is he, 6'7" or something like that? I mean, like,
and they got great abs, just genetically. Like their abs, the shape of it is just great.
It's beautiful.
Wait, what do the wives... I know Caitlin, because when I texted about the calendar, she responded and she sent me a couple pictures and she said, here's a picture of my husband's deformed body.
Yes.
So that's her response.
Yeah. She has certain trigger words. Like when she hears words like vascularity, she checks out.
Yeah, sure.
If she hears the term caloric intake, she checks out.
Glycogen depletion.
Yeah. Yes. Any kind of
gains.
Yeah. She'll just check out.
Yeah, my wife, same reaction, completely over it.
Okay.
She says my body has corners now. And there was a time that you were saying the nice window after you shoot for 3 weeks. For me, the nice window with my wife was there were like 3 weeks where every time she saw my body, she was surprised.
Oh, okay.
It was a great feeling because I would see her be surprised. Because I'll tell you, I don't wear a shirt around the house anymore.
I hope not. What a waste of time.
But why are you wearing one now?
That'd be like keeping a cover on the Ferrari.
I'm keeping this up. When I would walk into the kitchen, I would see her like notice each time, and that was a good window. Now she's like over it in every aspect. She's over it with gains, caloric intake, going to the gym.
Yeah.
It is there's an underlying threat to it, I would say, if you're a spouse of someone getting in incredible shape. Because one is they're spending a lot of their focus on themselves. There is an obvious vanity to it.
Oh my God. She's like, you can't like walk by a reflective surface anymore.
That's right. So that's one issue. And then second to that is I think they know on some level you're going to want to be appreciated for this. And they're not going to give a fuck because that's not why they liked any of the three of us. That's our wives did not pick us
Certainly not.
For our looks or our physique, I can promise you. So she's like, yeah, whatever. That's not what I was ever in the market for. I would have fucking married an athlete. I don't know why you think I would care about
She
this.
said to me very seriously that if you had this body when we first met and hooked up, I would think something was very wrong with you. She was like, I would not go out with you again.
Right.
Yeah.
That's fair. I think that's fair.
Yeah. Caitlin said to me we were laying in bed and we hadn't talked in like 4 or 5 minutes. We were just like reading. She was deep in thought, or I thought maybe deep in her book. And it was 5 or 6 minutes of silence. And she just turns to me and she says, I just want you to know, I do not find this attractive at all.
Okay. From episode 238 with Ellen Pompeo. Well, it's uniquely harder on females, which are, A, y'all never get paid. So, of course, you want that trophy because, at best, someone's getting paid 60 cents on a dollar. So, really, that award becomes the only thing that will be equal in that.
White women. sorry to interrupt you, but white women are getting paid 60 cents on the dollar. Black
Right.
women are being paid, I don't want to misstep here and say, but I think it's 40 cents on the dollar. And Latino women are being paid less than that in our industry.
In showbiz.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So, you're uniquely penalized financially. And then let's just be honest. And the shelf life is like, you might as well be in the NFL historically.
Yes.
It's like 38, see ya. And that is uniquely harsh. I live with an actress. We joke regularly. We'll be like just horsing around and I'll go, tick-tock, motherfucker.
It's true. I say in an article, first time I was up to renegotiate on Grey's 6 years after. I started the show when I was 33. By the time my first contract came up, I was 39 years old. And so had just had my first child and I was terrified. I was like, I'm super typecast on this show. The show's a monster and I'm 39. Like, I'll never work again. I better just stay here. And how amazing the strides that actresses have made in the past 10 years. I'm so impressed with all of these women who have gone into business, who are entrepreneurs, who are acting, producing, whatever it is. There's so many actresses that have found a way to be entrepreneurs and do other things. I think it's so inspiring and I'm really proud to be amongst them.
From episode 225 with John Legend.
And it's interesting, the physical strategy around where we put prisons, because we separate them from cities. So you're distanced from your family, you're distanced from most of the people in the state, so they never even see it. So one of my friends uses the verb, we disappear people, because they were basically out of sight and out of mind. And so you're able to go about your daily life in LA, and I am too, without even thinking about it.
Yeah.
And then these small towns, their entire economy is built around the fact that a prison is there. So they have a stake in us incarcerating as many people as possible, because that means jobs, that means more for their economy. And what's interesting, in a lot of states, they get those prisoners counted toward their population.
Oh, so they get more federal money?
So they get more representation, more federal money. Even though those prisoners often don't get a right to vote as part of that. And so it's a weird incentive structure for the smaller community, like Lancaster or whatever these towns are in California or all around the country, that house the prisons. And there's a whole economy built around it and an incentive structure to keep it in place for jobs and to support this infrastructure in this area. Meanwhile, the state and local governments are spending tons of money on prisons and jails. Families are being destroyed, families are being separated, and prisons aren't effective at reforming people.
No, people get out worse. When you look at it as a system, right? As a system, we had this guy on, he said it so simply and it's so accurate. Whatever result you're currently looking at is the result of a perfectly designed system to create that result.
Yeah.
Systems work.
They work.
Yes.
They're working at all times.
And it's not broken.
It's not broken. That's the fucking result of this system. It's perfectly designed to create this outcome. And you're right. When you incentivize incarceration for a community, I'm not hating on the community that wants the money, blah, blah. But let's think of incentives that are productive and drive the narrative forward.
Yeah. And like we've been talking about with the defund the police movement, all of these systems cost a lot of money and they are a choice. So whenever you spend it on one thing, you have a finite amount of tax money and you have to balance a budget every year if you're a state. So anytime you're spending it on one thing, you're necessarily precluding that same money from being spent on something else. And so every time we make that choice for more policing, more jails, more prisons, it means we can't spend it on healthcare, we can't spend it on schools, we can't spend it on pre-K for all these young people, which is proven to reduce their likelihood to commit crime, increases their income prediction. You know, all of these positive outcomes come from pre-K. Are we spending the money on it? No, we can't afford it, but we can afford more police. So when people are talking about defund the police, what they're saying is not that there wouldn't be zero police ever. They're saying, let's spend way less money on this so we can spend it on that.
Well, prevention worth, cure. from episode 248 with David Farrier.
Yeah, all the subtlety out of that discussion that had taken place was just completely sucked dry, and it was just like, I'm wrong, Dex is wrong, this man's wrong. Headline.
Yeah, because what a lot of people admire about Trump is that he never says I'm sorry or I'm wrong. So I understand that, like, that's the part of the appeal. So it's like, yes, by painting me as some weak person who would admit I'm wrong was like, it was the worst sin.
Yeah, and I think, that is a big part of what we're facing, is that subtlety has completely, and nuance has completely gone out the window. This email says this, so this is clearly what there's no pulling apart the information in any kind of intelligent way. It's just blunt and black and white. I mean, you watch the discourse in the States at the moment, and you can see how polarizing it's getting on both sides.
Oh, yeah.
And it's both sides just leaning into it, both sides leaning into their own bullshit. But I would argue that the bullshit on QAnon's side is definitely maxing out at the moment.
Yeah.
From episode 236 with Sean Penn.
And I very much have always sought exoneration for being someone who cheats and partied too hard.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea of that really appealed to me for a big chunk of my life.
Yeah, well, look, we know that, being a lush, I've been a lush myself. Being a lush is, ultimately an unsustainable value added. However, when we look at the kind of anti-exoneration period that we're in, that's not sustainable either.
Oh, I agree.
That you're right. There's got to be, if not a celebration, an embrace of the imperfections of all of us, or we're just going to be an increasingly hypocritical society and a kind of game out hater society, hating things that we ourselves possess.
Judging our neighbors for shit we did an hour ago.
Absolutely. And it's the opportunity to call somebody out somehow supersedes the ability to recognize, that we see the same thing in the mirror, as you say 5 minutes earlier.
Yeah. Yeah. And do you fear, I have a fear, and I think it's present in your book, that the new expectation of perfection is going to limit the pool of people we have to solve our problems to such a degree that I don't even know how we progress, right? Like, if the barrier of entry is perfection, who's standing to solve a problem?
Yeah, and what you get is a kind of order of reversal. And so you have the least responsible, the least self-reflective people with the greatest amount of voice and power. And so that sets a standard, a lowering of the bar of the human spirit that creates a mass depression. And I think that, along with this COVID pandemic and all that comes with it, and all that will come with it, with the kind of excess mortality issues of people who are afraid to go visit public health facilities to check a lump here or here, who will end up getting their first diagnosis at stage 4 instead of stage 1 or 2. We're going to be living with the effects of this. And there have been a lot of things, in the kind of psychological pandemic that preceded COVID, that we've seen really on a kind of exponential rise in our divisiveness. And it's not just a political divisiveness, it's a divisiveness of aspiration and a kind of freedom of connection of thought, that it becomes all too cautious and less magical things happen.
From episode 244 with Susan Burton.
When we talked the other day on our Zoom, you gave us an example of some of the day-to-day things, like the woman who needed a cell phone.
Yeah.
I think it's important to hear the little steps it takes for people to get what they need. And when you told us that, Chris and I were talking about it for a long time after. So can you share that story?
Yeah, so it was a woman, Spanish-speaking woman. She just knows a little English. And she had dropped her cell phone in the toilet.
As we all do.
She was scared. She had made a mistake. And she was about a week out of prison. And her friend had brought her the cell phone. And she was scared to tell the friend that she had dropped the cell phone in the toilet because she thought she'd get punished. And she was just really, really terrified. So I let her know that it's okay to make a mistake and that punishment was not going to happen to her. That punishment was behind her. What she had now was support. And I took her to the store. And at the store, the guy says, well, the cheapest phone that we have is $180. The phone that she dropped in the toilet was $329. So she reaches into her purse and she pulls out the money and she's ready to pay for a new cell phone. And I says, wait a minute, does that phone have a warranty? And the phone had a warranty.
The one she dropped.
Yep.
The one she dropped. So just those types of things happen all the time, all day long. People are overwhelmed just walking into a store.
Oh, it drives me nuts. I get in these arguments with folks and it's like, well, why can't they do X, Y, and Z? Why can't this person blank? And it's like, well, I'm going to guess that when your dad took you to the hardware store, you watched him interact with people and you learned some things. And if you don't,
everything's new.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything's new and different and really, really fast. So they have to learn the computer. They have to learn all of the gimmicks. You know, women say, oh, I just got a cruise. I'm fixing to go on a cruise. Girl, you ain't finna go on a cruise. They finna get your credit card information. Don't give it to them. You know what I mean? That's tough.
Yeah.
And then, and then a language barrier. I mean, if you put me in Moscow and I got to buy a phone, I went to college. I don't think I can do it, you know?
Right.
Yeah, that's incredible. So yeah, these tiny little life skills, you got to help people and have the patience to walk them through it and hold their hand. And sometimes that's all someone needs.
We have to care enough about the well-being of our fellow man. And I mean, we could put it in the word of patience, but we just have to care enough about one another.
Yeah.
Stay tuned for more Armchair Expert, if you dare.
We get support from Skims. Oh man, do I love Skims. I've been living in the Skims lightweight cotton collection all summer, and I have to tell you, getting dressed has become so easy. I just throw it on. It just feels right immediately, whether I'm grabbing coffee or I'm on the couch all day or I'm out, even going to dinner. The cotton is so lightweight and breathable, which in this heat is a non-negotiable. The cotton jersey t-shirt, I just need everyone to know about this one. This one hugs in all the right places. It's very soft and it still looks and fits the same after months of washing, which is very hard to do, I feel, with t-shirts. I've been wearing the black cotton jersey t-shirt with basically everything all summer long. It goes great with any patterned skirt or shorts or pants. I mean, anything truly. I believe that's probably my favorite piece from the cotton collection, but they also have great lightweight cotton thongs that are so comfortable and they're cute. That is a very, very hard mix to achieve, especially with undergarments. I feel if you can find some that are cute, but also comfortable and do the job, that is a win. And Skims has really, really figured that out with the lightweight cotton collection. Shop Skims Cotton and all of my favorite pieces at skims.com. After you place your order, be sure to let them know we sent you. Select podcast in the survey and be sure to select Armchair Expert in the drop-down menu that follows.
This podcast is brought to you by Squarespace. We've talked before about Rob building our website on Squarespace, and I bring it up again because it's a perfect example of what they do well. Rob had all the pieces, the content, the vision, the ideas, but he needed something to actually take all that and make it public facing. And Squarespace was that bridge. Maybe you're in the same spot. You've been developing something, a business, a skill set, a body of work, and it's been private. It's been yours, but at some point you're ready to put it out there, and that transition from private to public can feel like a huge leap. Squarespace makes it feel like a step. Beautiful templates, built-in SEO, email campaigns, scheduling, analytics, everything you need to go from I've been working on this to here it is, come find me. All in one place, no code, no stitching together a bunch of different tools. So if you've been sitting on something and waiting for the right moment, this might be it. Head to squarespace.com/DAX for a free trial. And when you're ready to launch, use offer code DAX to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. This episode is supported by Helix. All right, let's talk about something we both really care deeply about: sleep.
It's the most important thing. I've had my Helix mattress for years now, and I genuinely think it's one of the best investments you can make for your home. Mine still feels just like it did when I first got it.
Well, that's the thing. It's not one of those mattresses that caves in after 6 months. These things are built to last. And, I'm a side sleeper. I ordered a side sleeper and I get hot, so I have cooling. And I can't tell you how much more comfortable it is to be in there not sweating and tossing and turning.
Cooling is really important. I've read that you're supposed to sleep a little bit cold. So I also have cooling. And they have over 20 models, so it's not a one-size-fits-all situation. You just go take their quiz and they match you to what actually works for your body.
Plus, they've got cooling upgrades, which heading into summer, non-negotiable.
Truly.
Go to helixsleep.com/armchair for 20% off. That's helixsleep.com/armchair for 20% off. Make sure you enter our show name after checkout so they know we sent you. helixsleep.com/armchair. We are supported by Walden University. You know that feeling when you've been thinking about making a move, going after the degree, the promotion, the thing you keep telling yourself you'll get to someday? Walden University is built for that moment. For over 50 years, Walden has helped working professionals get the W, the knowledge, the skills, and the confidence to create real change in their careers and communities. Their programs are designed around your life, not the other way around. With Tempo Learning available in select programs, there are no rigid schedules or set weekly deadlines. You move at your own pace. And Walden's faculty aren't just academics. They're practitioners who bring real-world experience into everything they teach. From your first class to career coaching and beyond, Walden is your partner the whole way. Take the first step and learn at a pace that works for you. Visit waldenu.edu. Walden University. Set a course for change. Certified to operate by Chev.
From episode 232 with Brad Edwards.
Yeah, was there any moment for you where, not to say that you ever lost your objectivity or came under his spell, but were there ever moments where you're like, this guy's kind of likable? Like, if I wasn't involved in any of this and I ran into him at a dinner party, that I might just think the guy was fine?
Every time. Every time I ever met him, there came a point in time where he filed a lawsuit against me and then called me immediately and said, look, I will drop the lawsuit against you if you'll abandon your prosecution against me. That was his way of kind of extorting me or attempting to extort me into abandoning my clients. And there came a point we were talking through lawyers where we both decided we're going to get more done if we don't have lawyers there. So let's just start meeting in person. And we would meet at coffee shops and start talking.
In person?
Wow.
In person. So there comes a point in time where I use that as a way to feel him out and learn who he is and kind of get in his head. And at the same time, he's trying to do the same thing. He wants me off his trail, and I want to figure out how to take him down. So we're meeting in person in jousting, this kind of intellectual chess game. Yeah. And every time, we were only 3 minutes into every conversation where I find myself laughing at his stupid jokes. I go, hey, wait, he's not a bad guy. And then you go, wait, but I know all of the things that he's done. He's a terrible guy.
Yeah. He's the definition of a bad guy.
I would have to remind myself over and over again and go, okay, remember why you're here. Let's stick to it and try to pin him down on what his real game is, how I have you right now, and listen to him try to talk his way out of it, And he was a smart guy. So he would sometimes catch you in a situation where he would say, all right, Brad, you're a smart guy. We don't have to get pinned down with all of these nuance, these laws. When we're talking about, I'm a billionaire who travels from Florida and the age of consent's 18. And then what? I go to New York and it's 17. And then I go to France and it's 15. And all of the girls are the same. And how am I supposed to keep up with all of this? Biology should kind of dictate things, don't you think?
From episode 228 with Travis Pastrana. Okay, so you're just an all-time legend. You've also built this incredible empire. You're winning X Games. You're fucking jumping and flipping everything you could possibly do. And then you create a TV show, Nitrous Circus, with a lot of the Jackass folks. And the pilot, if I recall, and I told you about this, Monica, one time, you almost threw up. The pilot You meet Travis on this show. He's in an airplane up in the air, and he says, "Hey, I'm Travis Pastrana, and this is Nitro Circus." He's in board shorts and no fucking shirt, and he jumps out of an airplane.
Oh my God.
And do I have that right?
I mean, it was kind of pass or fail. Those tests were always the best. It was a Red Bull test. You know, they said it gives you wings. I was just checking it out.
Okay, so I'm watching that, and this is the first time I've now been put in the seat of like a mother, where I'm like, no, and no. I love Travis Pastrana. He is a motorsports phenom. I don't need him jumping out of a fucking airplane with no parachute. He just dives out of the airplane.
Oh my God.
And then he meets another dude in the air, and then he puts on a fucking parachute and then opens it and lands safely.
Yeah, and you can't practice this.
Yeah, well, so I'm not a great skydiver. Like I got my A license, which is like your beginner license. That's like your learner's permit. I mean, I get around fine. It's like one of those things.
You
like,
can
I'll
fall
go
out
there.
with the best of them.
Yeah, I mean, that's the best part about base jumping and skydiving. The second you step off the bridge or building or plane, you're going as fast as anyone else can go. So, you know, you're already up to speed. You just got to figure it out from there. But so I jumped out and I tried to get away from these guys. I was doing everything that I could to basically play tag, assuming that they were it and I was trying to run. And they basically tackled me out of the sky and they just hooked up to the rock climb harness.
Okay, so the guys or girls, whoever chased after you in the air, I presume hopefully they were some of the best in the world at skydiving.
I found a military guy. And I figure, you know, military, they never leave a man behind. So, like, I should be all right. We'll be great. So he was special forces.
The words you're saying make sense, but at the same time, they don't. I'm like, yeah, I can jump out because the military's never left a guy behind. Well, okay, yeah, that is a true statement, but this isn't, I don't know that it applies here.
From episode 8 of Monica and Jess Love Boys with Dan Savage.
I also want to say that not everybody at the cock buffet is there because it's their only option and they're sad and they really want a relationship. Some people want the cock buffet and that's all they want, and that's perfectly legitimate. One of the problems in committed long-term relationships is that so many people who don't want them are sort of hustled into them by sort of a cultural pressure.
We've talked about that a little bit on here, yeah.
Okay, good people want to be in relationships. I want to be a good person. I'm going to put myself in a relationship. A lot of people end up in relationships who really would be better, you know, at having a lot of STRs, as I call them, short-term relationships. We talk about LTRs all the time, and successful LTRs, which means somebody died. That's our metric for success in a committed relationship. Somebody's dead. Coronavirus is going to result in a lot of successful relationships, right?
Oh, God.
And what we also need to have a language, I think, around what's a successful short-term relationship, a successful relationship that both people emerged from alive. And an STR can be 2 hours, you know, after meeting up on Grindr. And if you're kind and decent and they're kind and decent and you have great sex, you create a little bit more joy in the world. Even if there's no click, you can be kind to each other. Or a successful STR can be, you know, 3 months. And somebody can be the kind of person who has a lifetime of successful 3-month STRs. One of the things that I see all the time is that when people want out of relationships, they feel like they have to blow them up. They feel like the only way they can legitimately leave a relationship is if it's high conflict and there's anger. You know, so people will generate conflict and anger to get out or to justify getting out after 3 or 6 months all the time, rather than just being honest and parting amicably after 3 or 6 months because you're an STR type. And it's better for STR types to seek out STR types than to, you know, lead LTR types to believe that they might want an LTR when they know that they can't. But there's a lot of people out there who are STR types who, you know, have a kind of false consciousness around wanting to be LTR people when they're not. It's just like around monogamy. A lot of people out there make monogamous commitments they can't keep because they can't conceive of themselves as a good moral person, but not monogamous.
Right.
So they psych themselves up to believe that monogamy is for them when actually they're not for monogamy.
I love that.
Interesting.
From episode 234 with Atul Gawande. Should I accept the system I'm inheriting, and do I want to perpetuate it, or do I have questions for the overall system?
We can try to unpack that because I don't have the answers here.
Okay. Our goal is for you to leave here with a mental diagnosis from two non-professionals.
I get very disturbed by things that don't feel right, and that are especially confusing to me. For example, in surgery, I became a person who really pushed back on the culture of arrogance and intimidating people. There is a difference between arrogance and self-confidence.
Oh, please tell me so I can stay on the right side of it.
You do. You have to make choices and you got to forge ahead. But the ones who don't have humility that things can go wrong are the ones who then can't own it when things go wrong and learn from that.
Right, right.
And so it's not the confidence that you are perfect, which is a dangerous confidence. It's the confidence that you can handle it and that you're aiming for perfection, but you know you'll never completely achieve it.
Right.
The best surgeons I know are ones that are able to have good judgment, make quick decisions in the face of uncertainty, and are generally right and own it when they're wrong. Some of the best politicians, I feel like, are those kinds of people that they are able to recognize things are uncertain. You have to make a choice, and then you got to own it and live with it.
Well, what's the saying, right? They say, like, you make the best choice with the best information available, and sometimes that's insufficient.
You don't want someone dithering. Obama, the night that he sent the special forces out to kill Osama bin Laden, and his entire presidency is on the line. He happened to be at the White House Correspondents' Dinner that night.
Yes, giving jokes, being as funny as any of the comedians.
Roasting Donald Trump.
Yeah,
at that very night.
Regrettable, probably.
Right, which of course pissed him off.
Yeah.
But being able to make the call, it wasn't arrogance. It was confidence. It was like, I've done the best I can, and then I'm going to own and live with the consequences. And I'm going to hope everybody comes with me when I then say, well, this is my choice I made, and here's how now we deal with this consequence and where we are, right? I have to walk out in surgery. Look, I've got it down to like 97% of the time it's going to go as I hope, but 3% I'm going to have made worse off.
And by the way, that seems like one of the highest percentages in surgery, right? I mean, in general, there's a sliding scale, right? Back operations, I don't know, they're like 50% effective or...
Yes, that's right. You can have, there are operations like colon surgery where 25% will have some kind of a complication that you have to deal with. And then there's, some of them are errors, some of them are not. But I have to be able to walk in when there is something that goes wrong and, not say like, what, nothing went wrong. Look, this is what happened. This is our situation now. Here's what we can do. And this is how we can manage the situation. Nothing is ever going to always work perfectly.
Yeah.
And so you have to be able to bring people along for the ride. And that's what I felt like I got out of surgery, which was, I was not that guy. My favorite New Yorker cartoon, which I felt like defined me, was the gravestone that said, he kept his options open. And that was me. That is me.
From episode 243 with Tom Brady.
Can you remember a player that you were envious of?
In professional football, I mean, there's been so many over the years. I mean, if I look at like some guys who physically obviously have a lot more ability, they're faster, they're bigger, they can run, they can, I think there's some things that I've learned to do probably better over time, because I've been working hard at it for a long time. But, my 5th year in the league, I was no freak of nature.
Right.
But I look at some guys who maybe were great physically, run a 4.6 40. I'll joke all the time. I'll see a guy run like a 4.7 40, which is pretty fast. I would say like the average NFL quarterback probably runs, a 4.8, 4.9. The fast guys run like 4.7. The slow guys run like 5 flat and over. I ran a 5.3. I was slow as shit. There we go. I was the slowest person on the field. I couldn't outrun a 350-pound defensive lineman. So every time I got the ball in my hands, it's like a hot potato. I'm like, where does someone at? I got to throw this thing, because I'm going to get killed if I'm holding this thing. So, I look at these.
The ref was going to outrun me.
Yeah, the ref yeah, exactly. So, I'm sitting here thinking, God, if I could run a 4.7, football would be so easy. I mean, how easy would this sport be if I could run away from people?
And again, that could be a limit you could have given yourself. Well, I just won't be that because I don't have that. From episode 250 with Allie Raceman.
Like if a fan comes up to me and they start telling me their story of being a survivor, I've worked on this in therapy a lot because I get triggered really easily. And sometimes like I'm the only person they've ever told. Like I'll have someone in the grocery store say, I'm 70 years old and I was abused like over 50 years ago. You're the only person I've told. And I put so much pressure on myself to the point where like I obsessively overthink what I say to that person, because if I'm the only person they've ever told, from personal experience, I understand the weight and the power of when you confide in someone that you've been abused, the way that that person reacts to you, it has such a massive impact on their healing. And so I want to make sure that I'm supporting them and being there for them. But then when it happens a couple times a day, how can I still show them I support them, but kindly ask them not to go into graphic detail? Because when you have over 5 people, or if I'm at an event and it's like 30 people going into graphic detail, if I do a meet and greet, how am I supposed to go through life, traveling alone, being in a hotel by myself, walking outside late at night and not be afraid something bad's going to happen to me? Like it's this paranoia. So I've worked on this like strategy of just kindly being like, I support you so much. I'm still so much in my healing. So I support you, but just please don't go into graphic detail. But I'd love to talk to you about your healing. And I'd love to tell you about what's helped me. Like, I hope you're getting help. So a lot of people answer and be like, you just seem so strong on TV. I forget that you're still dealing with it. So it's almost the opposite. People don't feel pity with me. It's that they forget that I'm actually dealing with it. When I do interviews, I haven't cried because I like have kind of put up a wall of like, I have to be strong. I want people to listen to me. I want people to think that I'm intelligent, and I don't want people to think I'm weak. And I've been like so afraid to be like super vulnerable in that way.
Yeah.
That people forget, and they're like, you just seem like it doesn't really like phase you. So it didn't occur to me that going into graphic detail would impact you. So
yeah, the emotional weight of being a symbol of this movement must be humongous in that, you're going to be asked sometimes 30 times a day to join someone emotionally, to meet them emotionally at a place that's just really taxing on anyone. Your own issues, I'm sure, are taxing enough. And then you add on. So I bet it's really, really hard to establish boundaries that are both protective of you and also generous to the people you want to help.
Yes. And it's so interesting the way that trauma works, because a lot of times not setting boundaries can be trauma. And it's also the shame of guilt of not setting enough boundaries in my childhood and not speaking up for myself. So sometimes when I feel like somebody isn't respecting my boundaries, and I feel like 99% of people are so respectful, but if there's that, like anybody in life, not everybody you're going to like mesh very well with. But, if I'm at an event and like somebody's really touchy with me, but not meaning it in like a sexual inappropriate way. It might be like an older woman that's like, oh my God, you remind me of my granddaughter. And they're just like touching me. Yeah. And because I'm such a people pleaser and I don't want to let anyone down when they meet me, I like, you know what? I'd rather make her happy and just let her do this, that I put someone else first. And then that has been so triggering for me, because I'm like, well, now I feel traumatized and I feel uncomfortable because I was just standing there helpless, like I felt when I was being abused. You're just there and you're so uncomfortable. It's almost like you're in shock and you don't know what to do. But I feel frozen because I don't want to upset them. I don't want to trigger them. So then I just upset myself. I'm really working on it.
From episode 254 with Eric Lander.
Well, and like we're just learning what happens in the microbiome. Like that's entirely new. 25 years ago, you would just think, microbes in your gut, those have got to be bad. Now we're learning, if you don't have the right one, you might have obesity. You don't have the right one, you might have mental health issues. So much is so unknown still.
Well, science has to bring humility to things. Like, it's amazing. We've done all sorts of powerful things, read the genome, all this stuff. I love it. I'm proud of it.
Yeah.
What this generation has done. But science has to bring a lot of humility, that there's tons of stuff we don't know. We are still reading this 3 billion year old text. And we've been reading it for a decade or two, where kindergartners reading the text. And we think like we understand all its subtle meanings. So humility has got to be a part of every bit of science. And how you balance amazing opportunity and the duty to serve patients and the duty to move forward with the right kind of humility is an important thing scientists have to hold together.
From from episode 218 with Blake Griffin. Okay, so then my last question is, so Donald Sterling, there's a new documentary coming out, right? I'm very excited to see it. Did you participate in that?
I actually didn't. They did a 30 for 30 on this whole thing, and then right after that, they were doing this, and I was like, I've told my piece, you know.
Yeah.
By the way, I also had to talk about it so many times before that I was just kind of like, I don't want to do another deep, in-depth, like sit down for 3-4 hours and go over this one subject. You know what I mean?
Well, again, this would be another trigger of mine if I were black or mixed, which is, okay, so there's this racist asshole, and now I gotta fucking answer all these questions because this guy, like this is my responsibility to constantly be available, and I'm doing it to you right now. But I don't need that. Like, I didn't sign up to have to now talk about this guy being an asshole all the time.
Yeah, it's really interesting because there's a draft lottery that happens where they find out who's picking what. So the Clippers get the first pick, and then, you know, a month later is the actual draft. So during that time, they announced that they were going to take me with the first pick. And I remember my mom called me one day and she was like, honey, I just was reading about the guy who owns the Clippers. And at the time, I didn't know much about him because, like, the Clippers were never on TV.
No,
never.
Barely in LA were they even on TV.
I'm from Oklahoma, and like, yeah, exactly. They were on PBS. And so I'm from Oklahoma, so like, you know, I heard about the Lakers and the Celtics and the big teams. So I sort of looked into it. Man, it's like there's a lot of stuff, but like no one really seems to like say anything.
Really quick to bring Monica up to speed. Do you know this?
No, I don't.
So the owner of the Clippers, he made a bunch of racist comments. Didn't he also bring his mistress into the locker room and stuff? Didn't he do weird shit like that? Am I thinking the same?
Yeah. So quickly, he made up all his money in real estate. He had so many different lawsuits surrounding racial discrimination. Literally recorded saying this or that about different minority groups.
Mm-hmm.
Also driving up prices to be able to kick them out, treating them unfairly, like all these different things, right?
Yeah.
So when I first got drafted, I had to go to his house in Malibu for a white party. It was like everybody dressed in white.
God. Oh my God.
So I get there, he's wearing all black at his own white party. So he's wearing all black. And he proceeds to parade me around the party. He would hold my hand and bring me around to other people and like introduce me. He'd be like, "This is our number one pick in all the land, and look how strong he is. Feel his arms." And like,
my God.
He'd do stuff like that. So then, we're playing for him. He would always do, things. He would bring, people in the locker room. I can't remember. Yeah, she probably came in the locker room. There was a girl that he was always with that was just known as his mistress, him and his wife, whatever. I don't know, whatever they had.
When he was taking you around the party and feel his muscles and all that, in that moment, were you feeling, because it's very plantation ownery. Look at this thing I own. Feel how strong he is. Like, was that on your mind while it was happening, or just feel like, oh, this guy's kind of a weirdo and I am pretty ripped, so go ahead and feel. What was happening?
A little bit of both, because like I'm just getting into the league and like he's the owner of this team. I don't know how. Obviously, I know this is not normal, but like I don't know what I'm supposed to do. How much power do I have in this situation?
Yeah,
I would like not hold his hand as much as I possibly could, which was like, me standing up. People were like, "No, you could have done more." I was like, "Oh yeah," but I wiggled away a few times. So yeah, I don't know. Obviously it felt weird, but I also was just like, "Get me out of here."
Okay.
So fast forward, he gets caught on tape saying to his mistress, she secretly recorded him, and he was saying a bunch of racist stuff. So then this is happening right before the playoffs. So then these tapes come out, and we're about to play game 3 of the first round, big series. And this all comes out, and we're like, now what do we do? Because like people knew he was racist before this. It just brought it to light again. Like he had multiple lawsuits for racial discrimination. So now people are looking at us like, what are you guys going to do?
Here's another thing I've griped about a lot, and Monica disagrees with me, and I think I'm wrong about it, but I will say I am very sympathetic to like a black actor who just wants to be a comedian, and then the second they're famous because they're black, they also have to be a social activist. It's just not a responsibility that a white guy has to deal with, and I think that's a little unfair. So similar to the Olympics, right? When they wanted the black athletes to not go to the Olympics, I'm like, they already had the shittiest fucking life, and now you have to tell them not to go reach the pinnacle of their dream.
Yeah.
on top of that, some part of that feels, and then you've worked your ass off to get to the playoffs, and now you have to respond.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And
Sorry.
I haven't watched the documentary yet. I don't know if this is going to go against what anybody says, but like in my mind, and I know in most people, like we weren't going to boycott the games because we never played for him.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
He paid us. I wasn't like, oh, this is my owner, man. This guy, like, great. Like, fuck this guy. Like, he's paying us. He owns the team, sure. But we're like, this isn't him, like, actually owning us. We're playing basketball. We're doing what we want to do, and we're good at it, and we're in this situation. We decided to do a thing where we turned our warm-ups inside out. We had to wear these jackets out. So we came out to half court for warm-ups. We took our jackets off, threw them on the ground, and we were all just in basically blank T-shirts because they were inside out.
It's so gangster. That's in the commercial for that doc. It's so gangster. I love it.
Again, at the time, maybe I'm just a horrible judge of like how big moments are at the time. At the time, you're just kind of like, all right, like we got to play this game. It's like the whole box thing. We're like, this is not in our box. We've worked our whole season to get to this point, and now we're gonna let this asshole like ruin it and like, take the focus away from what we're really here for when we were never playing for him in the first place. And so, I think we navigated it pretty well, given the circumstances and given how fast this came out on a Friday night. Our next game was Saturday. So Friday night, or maybe it came out Saturday morning, we had a team meeting Friday night, and our coach was like, hey, this is going to come out, just so you guys know. And I'm pretty sure Saturday morning it all blew up on TMZ, whatever. So we quickly sort of had to decide like what we were going to do because everybody was sort of looking to see, like people thought we were going to boycott. And I remember getting like texts from people like, you guys should boycott, like you guys shouldn't play and all this stuff. And I think our coach at the time was like, turn your phone off. Not because he didn't want us to deal with it. He did want us to deal with it as a team, but he just didn't want people, trying to get in our ear who didn't work this whole season, who didn't put blood, sweat, and literal tears into this season to be at this position to say like, oh, you guys shouldn't play, because then we're doing ourselves a disservice as well.
Yeah.
So it was a crazy situation.
From episode 272 with Natalie Portman.
I'm working through my own stuff with you, which is there were times where I was like, I shouldn't be so in love with this girl, but yet Timothy Hutton is. He's much older than me. I guess I'm fine. Was that something you were aware of? I guess that's where I'm going with all of this.
I was definitely aware of the fact that like I was being portrayed like mainly in kind of journalism around when the movies would come out as like this like Lolita figure and stuff. And
yeah,
I've actually talked about it. I wrote a thing about it for the Women's March a few years ago about how being sexualized as a child, I think took away from my own sexuality because it made me afraid. And it made me feel like the way that I could be safe was to be like, I'm conservative and I'm, like serious and you should respect me and I'm smart and like, don't look at me that way. Whereas that age is like, you do have your own sexuality and you do have your own desire and you do want to explore things and you do want to be open, but you don't feel safe necessarily when there's like older men that are like interested and you're like, no. And so I feel like you build these fortresses around you and also take on like so many people, I think, had this impression of me that I was like super serious and like prude and like conservative as I get older. And I realized I consciously cultivated that because it was ways to make me feel safe that, if someone respects you, they're not going to objectify you.
Well, we interviewed the California Surgeon General, and she was talking about childhood ACEs, right? And a common outcome of that for women who are molested, it's pretty common for them to gain a bunch of weight to become invisible. They want to be not seen by men ever again. And so it doesn't surprise me that you had your own kind of defense against that unwanted attention.
Yeah.
It's deep.
Well, and it's a complicated thing because it's like you're told as a girl and a woman that you're supposed to want that and that it's a good thing that like people finding you attractive or like people thinking you're sexy or people thinking you're beautiful or precocious, like these words that, we use around young girls in particular. And then it's complicated because it doesn't make you necessarily always feel good or always feel safe. And then it hinders your just like natural development of what you might be like because you're creating a self defensively. I'm like, I will be the person that is going to be like immune to any weirdness, you know? And it worked out, luckily. I mean, I was safe.
Stay tuned for more Armchair Expert, if you dare.
This episode is brought to you by SoFi, the all-in-one finance app where you can bank, borrow, and invest all in one place.
Let's talk bank accounts for a second. The average bank savings rate is 0.39% in interest. You're earning pennies on your savings, but it does not have to be that way.
With SoFi high-yield checking and savings, the money barely making moves sitting in your savings account can earn over 8 times the national average savings rate with eligible direct deposit.
No account or overdraft fees, which feels rare these days. You can get your paycheck up to 2 days early, perfect for getting ahead of a bill or grabbing what you need right when you need it.
Plus, get up to a $300 welcome bonus when you sign up with eligible direct deposit. Sign up for SoFi checking and savings at SoFi.com/armchair. SoFi checking and savings is offered through SoFi Bank N.A., member FDIC. Terms apply.
Thank you to our presenting sponsor, HP, for supporting this episode. Parents, you've got enough on your back-to-school list right now. Ink cartridges do not need to be on it. They just don't. The HP Smart Tank printer uses a refillable ink tank and comes with up to 3 years of ink included. It's the last printer you'll ever need. To learn more, search HP Smart Tank.
This episode is brought to you by the new Max original comedy series, Stuart Fails to Save the Universe. From the world and creators of The Big Bang Theory comes a new comedy series. Stuart Bloom, comic book store owner and lovable underdog, accidentally breaks a device built by Sheldon and Leonard and kicks off a full-blown multiverse Armageddon. Now, he's on a mission to put reality back together alongside his girlfriend Denise, a geologist named Bert, and physicist Barry Kripke. Along the way, they're running into alternate universe versions of characters you already know and love. Check out the new Max original comedy series, Stuart Fails to Save the Universe, now streaming exclusively on HBO Max with new episodes Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern. Subscription required. This episode is brought to you by ServiceNow. Look, I have my dream job. I get to talk to folks I admire like crazy and ask them virtually any question that I want to. I can't imagine a better way to spend my time. But even dream jobs have some not so dreamy parts, the stuff that gets in the way of the actual work. Now, that's where ServiceNow's AI specialists come in. They don't just tell you what you should do about your busy work. They actually do it, start to finish. Cases closed, requests handled, no extra work for you. So you and your team can focus on what matters most, which for me is, are they obsessed with male bodies on the same level as I am?
They never are.
To learn how to put AI to work for people, visit servicenow.com. From episode 176, the fact check for Claire Danes. Should we tell people that we think we might be having a baby?
Oh, sure.
I don't want to start the rumor mill, but I used Monica's toilet at her new house, which is a non-functioning house. And what I did is I flushed the toilet and it flushed properly. And I was like, oh, the water's still on. Great.
Yeah.
Then I whizzed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then I hit the flusher again. Oopsies. No water in there.
No.
So then I came to you and I was like, I've peed in your commode and I'm going to have to bring over a 5-gallon bucket of water and flush this thing.
Yes.
You're like, yeah, we'll get to it.
Yeah.
And then you were there like a couple days after.
Yep.
And you were going to pee your pants.
Yep.
And so you peed on top of my
I did. I didn't want to put pee in another toilet because that would just be multiple things we'd have to figure out. So I peed on top of your pee, and it's all still there. This was weeks ago.
Oh, geez.
And
I'm so embarrassed for us.
And we think that maybe the mixture of the pee,
a life will grow out
we
of
don't
that.
know.
We just
don't know. Maybe Malcolm Gladwell could weigh in on how many broth babies there have been.
Historically, how many broth babies there are. I think this would be so exciting, though, if we went over there and took. Well, we went over there with the 5-gallon water bucket, and then we heard, Mama, Dad. And there was a little yellow baby down there.
No. I would really love it. I would take care of it.
Of course we would. Our little urine baby.
Yeah. It would probably need to like live in that toilet.
It might need to live in that toilet. You're right. And it would be jaundice. So
Well, for sure.
Okay.
Extremely jaundice.
Okay.
From episode 265 with Tristan Harris.
Yeah, and my life has been largely defined by, I think, the impact of, the Macintosh on my early childhood. And yeah.
That's a kind of an interesting place to theoretically start, which is prior to Macintosh, and again, I'm not super savvy about this, but I will say what used to be seemingly kind of a utilitarian pursuit of people who liked making simple programs on these early computers, with Mac comes, in my opinion, a culture or a movement. It like transcends that space a little bit. Was that your experience with it? Did it feel like more of an emotional connection to that thing?
It actually did, yeah. I didn't know any of the lore behind the Macintosh, who Steve Jobs was or Andy Hertzfeld or Bill Atkinson, some of these characters who, invented and put all of this culture and soul into this computer. But it's funny because not even knowing that history, I felt this kind of weird mystical almost connection to the creativity behind it.
Yes.
And it really was, as the saying goes, and as we say in the film, that the Macintosh and the computers were a bicycle for our minds. They would be giving us kind of leverage for the kind of conceptual creativity and capacity that we could have as human beings. And that's a really optimistic view, obviously, of technology that I still believe is possible. We just went astray with these business models that kind of pulled us into this mini dark ages.
Well, and then to drill down a little bit on what you just said, which I think could be useful, is yes, the bicycle is a tool. You do a great job of describing that, meaning a tool, a rake, a lawnmower. It sits in your shed until you want to use it to perform some tasks that it's going to assist you in. And that is not how we interact with these tools, our smartphones, our computers. They are actually engaging us at all times, right? We didn't wake up necessarily with a game plan of like, you know what, let's try to get 5-6 hours on that thing today. No, it handles that for you.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, it's important to state, if you go back to the Marshall McLuhan kind of theories of what is media, what is technology, and it's an extension of thinking and action. So all technologies are extending and reshaping the way we make sense of the world and the kind of actions that we might take. So a bicycle is going to change your basic sense making and choice making, the menu of options that might occur to your mind of where do I want to go today or what do I want to do today, because your bicycle extends that. So it's important to say that first. Yeah. However, as you said, a bicycle doesn't have an agenda about what it wants from you, right?
Right. Well, it wants you to lubricate the chain occasionally and keep the air pressure at optimum level.
I guess at some existential level it wants to survive, but it doesn't have any means of doing that except by, being able to make you care about that. But, a bicycle doesn't have an avatar voodoo doll-like model of each of us that uses trillions of data points to figure out predictively, how do I get you to drive more to places like McDonald's and less to places like parks and playgrounds, because I need to make money from you using me in a very particular way. And that's the difference, as we say in the film, between a kind of tools-based technology environment and an addiction and manipulation-based technology environment. That's the thing that's really changed that we talk about in The Social Dilemma, is that the business model of Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, et cetera, they all depend on us using it in very particular ways that involve hours a day of screen time. Mm-hmm. But that's not really the core harm. I'm sure we'll get into this more. It's really the kind of the erosion of the life support systems that make up a society, that make a society work, because we need our mental health. We need a common view of reality. We need shared facts and truth. Yeah. We need to have a basic compassion for each other. And each one of those dimensions of our society are things that are not inside of the business model's interests. Right. And that's really why we have to change the broader system.
From episode 222 with Jennifer Eberhardt. So I want to get into the story of your son because it's so profound. I think it has to be very informative in the work you've done, because you've led a lot of implicit bias or unconscious bias workshops for police departments. And I think this experience with your son is just very profound. So will you tell us about that?
Okay, so we're on an airplane and he's 5. And my son, he's just so excited, right, about being on this airplane with mommy. And he is looking all around and he is checking everybody out and he's checking everything out. And then he, sees this man and he points at him and he says, "Hey, that guy looks like Daddy." And so I look at the guy and he doesn't look anything at all like my husband, like nothing at all, right? So then I start looking around on the plane and I noticed that this guy was the only Black man on the plane. And I thought, all right, I'm going to have a little talk with my son about how not all Black people look alike.
There's a couple hilarious points in that, which is your husband is bald and this guy had really long dreadlocks, right?
Right.
Much different height, different weight.
Everything was it. So I decided I was going to give it a shot because, kids see the world in a different way from adults. And so I thought, well, maybe he's seen something, right? There's some resemblance there that I can't get. And so I looked at his height and his weight and his skin color and his facial features. And I looked at his hair and, he had long dreadlocks flowing down his back, and my husband shaves his head. And I'm like, all right. So I turned to my son and I'm like, okay, you're going to get the talk. So I'm already giving him the talk about how not all Black people look alike, right? And so before I could say anything, my son, he looks up at me and he says, "I hope he doesn't rob the plane."
No.
And I said, "What?" I said, "What did you say?" He says, "Well, I hope that man doesn't rob the plane."
Oh,
and
boy.
I said, "Why would you say that? Daddy wouldn't rob a plane." And he says, yeah, I know. And I said, "Well, why would you say that?" And he looked at me with this really sad face. And he said, "I don't know why I said that. I don't know why I was thinking that." We're living this such severe racial stratification that even a 5-year-old can tell us what's supposed to happen next.
And that's, what would you say your leading causality for that is television?
People always point to television right away, right? Oh, it's the media exposure and all that. But I don't know, he's 5. He actually wasn't looking at that much TV, frankly. And of course, the media, that plays a role here. But I think that we're so quick to point to the media because we don't want to look at ourselves.
Sure.
And that part of it bothers me because they're not just picking up things from television. They are picking up all of this from the signals we deliver to them, even though we don't intend to, or even when we don't intend to. I have another son, when he was in the 1st grade, he came to me and he says, "Mommy, do you think people kind of have a different feeling about Black people than they do other people?" And I said, "Well, what do you mean?" He says, "I don't know. I just feel like there's just something different there and how people look at Black people." I asked him to give me an example, and he thought about it, and he said, "Well, remember we were in the grocery store the other day, and there was a Black man who came in." So this was a grocery store in a mostly white neighborhood. He says, a Black man came in. He says, "I noticed that people kind of stayed away from him a little bit." And he wasn't really into Star Wars then. He was saying it was like he had a giant force field around him. And so people were like staying away. And then he said when this man got into the line, he said his was the shortest line because people weren't getting in line behind him. And so he had picked all of this up. And I'm just shopping and and I did notice the man coming in the store, but I didn't pick any of that up, right?
Yeah.
And part of it is just, I'm used to it, I think.
It's white noise now, right? It's all in the background.
It is. And then I asked him, "What do you think it means? Why did they do that?" And he thought about it. He said, "I don't know." He says, "I think it's fear." And I thought, wow.
Yeah.
A 1st grader can get to that, not by watching TV, but just by watching how we move through the world and how people react to us as we do.
Yeah, it's such a humongous motivator for people, fear, right? It's got to be the strongest.
Episode 217 with Vivek Murthy.
People don't start counting chits to see, whether they're going to get paid back for donating a meal to a family in need.
they step up and they serve. And that's the best of humanity coming out. You're seeing that right now during the COVID-19 pandemic when doctors and nurses are putting their lives on the line, even though they don't have enough masks, because they have a sworn duty to help protect other people. You're seeing neighbors dropping off meals to support other neighbors who are too old to go out because they're in a high-risk group. You're seeing humanity at its best. And you saw it in 9/11. And 9/11 was extraordinary. One of the lesser-known stories of 9/11 is the boat lift story from 9/11. Are you familiar with the boat lift story?
I'm not.
I don't think so.
When the Twin Towers were burning down, there was a tremendous amount of smoke and ash in the air, and it was hard to tell which direction to go if you were fleeing. And so some people fled north, and that was actually the path of relief. But a lot of people fled south, not realizing that they were just heading towards the Hudson and that they would have no escape from there. And as that happened, thousands and thousands of people started to build on that southernmost tip of Manhattan. And they were getting more and more anxious and desperate as the smoke and fire behind them were growing. And the Coast Guard recognized that this was going on. And they knew also that they didn't have enough resources in the area to be able to rescue all of them. So they did something they had never done before, which is they issued a call to all the civilian boats in the area and asked them to join on this unprecedented rescue mission. You might think in that moment, if you're sitting on a boat in the Hudson and you see this inferno growing in front of you, are you going to take your boat toward the inferno or are you going to head for the safety of home? Within minutes, there were scores of boats that were streaking toward Manhattan. And these boats, guided by civilians, brought soot-covered passengers on board. They gave them water. They ferried them to safety. In total, they rescued nearly 500,000 people that day. And that 9/11 boat rescue became the largest boat rescue in the history of the world. That's bigger than Dunkirk, huh? It's bigger than Dunkirk.
Wow.
That's exactly right.
Wow.
That's what people do. Because in our hearts, when the chips are down, we are guided by our human values. And when I was Surgeon General, I tried to think about that as a guiding principle to how we act. We can get into debates, into political philosophy debates about what's the appropriate role of government. And those are important debates to have, don't get me wrong. But I think what we have to make sure is always guiding us is that human perspective of how do we take care of each other, recognizing that we all do truly depend on each other. How do we recognize just because we are doing well in one area, whether that's economics or our health or our children are doing well, doesn't mean that because other people aren't doing well in that area, that it's all their fault.
From episode 191 with Tom Silver.
My goal is for you to look in the mirror and say, I really appreciate and like who I am. And I like the way I look.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter the way anyone else looks or they feel. It's a personal deal. It's an inside deal. If you appreciate the miracle of who you are and the way you look and the beauty in it, there's no one else like you. And you look in the mirror and say, I truly give myself permission to love and appreciate who I am, the way I look, and the way I feel, and the confidence within me that no other human being can ever take away. And it's not for sale. Yes.
You're onto something amazing right now, and I can't believe I've never thought of it.
Tell
I think
me.
part of this huge hurdle is you're wanting your look to be this thing that already existed. But as he just said, you're your original thing, and the thing is beautiful. Now, yes, you can't point to 25 magazines where it exists, and you can't point to 25 leads of TV shows where it exists, but that in no way means that this thing that's new for us isn't unbelievably beautiful. You're just the first to show it to us.
It's a Michelangelo. It's a work of art.
I'm not going to try to get you to believe you look like everyone else that's on TV and in magazines.
And why should you?
But I want you to believe that the version of you is insanely attractive.
And enjoy your natural beauty.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, bitch, it'll be gone soon enough, and you're going to be looking at photos
we gotta do
going,
this
fuck,
now.
I missed
Yeah, we
it.
got to do it now. You resonate that natural beauty, but you now need to know it's an inside deal, that you truly feel it when you look into a mirror.
From episode 227 with Rob Corddry.
And this is the opening speech of Henry V.
Oh, my God.
You really want me to do this?
1,000%. I also want to take my shorts off before you begin.
By the way, this is so embarrassing.
I know.
To a certain degree.
But I was shocked at how good you are at it. I mean, I'm not shocked. You're super talented. But okay, so the theater, you could hear a pin drop in the theater. Everyone's so excited to see the show. The curtain comes up and a man walks out.
And the man is wearing a scarf.
Of course.
Just let's say I'm wearing a scarf and a suit without a tie.
Perfect.
Oh, for a muse of fire that would ascend the brightest heaven of invention. My kingdom for a stage, princes to act, and monarchs to behold the swelling scene. Then should the warlike Harry ascend the seat of Mars, and at his heels, leashed in like hounds, should famine, sword, and fire crouch for employment. Pardon, gentles all, for a crooked figure may attest in little place a million. And let us on your imaginary forces work. When we say there are horses, imagine that you see them, clopping their proud feet in the receiving earth. Ooh. May we cram within this wooden O the very casks that did alight the air at Agincourt? Oh, nay. And then I don't know.
That was great.
I already messed up.
No.
That was a paraphrase.
It was perfect.
Henry V.
Monica, can you relate to my reaction yesterday?
Yes.
Which is like, I have no clue. One thing he said, I followed that that we have to imagine there's horses.
Well, basically what he's saying is like,
Anyone.
we're going to act out that there's horses, but you're not going to see them.
Exactly.
So imagine that when we say there's horses, you see them.
From episode 249 in the fact check for Sofia Coppola.
I could rewatch that.
Me too.
Let's do it.
I could rewatch anything with Leo.
Oh my God.
Oh, what a sex machine.
All I can think about is his dinosaur bones now.
I know, his T-Rex skull.
Yeah. I really want to see it.
I want
really
him to
want
make.
him to move in.
I want you to be bent over the T-Rex skull while he makes love to you. Can you imagine
that's
a more?
Enough.
Wait, is it?
Well, I don't think people are going to like that.
Oh, why? Because of the paleontology of it all, or just you
because
being
it's
bent over?
disrespectful to the T-Rex.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if I had crossed the line with you about you and Leo.
No, he's in my age range, under 65.
Well, he's a little young for you, but yes.
Yeah. And he's going to move in and bring his T-Rex, and we're going to find a way to incorporate that into my new house.
Well, but just imagine that the lovemaking somehow takes place on the T-Rex, and you're like holding on to the incisors of the T-Rex for stability.
I'm going to be nervous.
Can you imagine anything, though, more primal than holding a
That-
T-Rex's incisors while coitus is happening?
That's a lot.
I think I would make love to him if I could hold on to the incisors. Maybe you guys will do it in the mouth of the T-Rex.
How
like maybe
big
he has,
is the mouth?
I bet it's big enough to put like a twin bed on the tongue.
Whoa.
Where the tongue would be.
Oh my
and you guys could
God.
be in like a T-Rex cave. Oh my God.
I'm not saying no
I
to
hope
that.
Leo's listening, because if he hasn't thought of this idea, he's missing out on a great opportunity.
But dibs, Leo, it only gets to be with me.
That's
and in my
true.
house with your T-Rex.
Talk about a novel experience.
Oh, yeah.
It's a double whammy. Very few people have been able to make love to Leo. Plus, I would argue no one's made love in the mouth of a T-Rex.
Yeah.
God, we're so good at coming up with these. Should we write for softcore pornography production companies?
Potentially. First thing will be the butt
Snake.
butt snake. Yeah.
Bottom snake.
Oh, yeah. From episode 252 with Bob Woodward.
Take the question of George W. Bush, who invaded Iraq thinking there were weapons of mass destruction. This is 2003. Before the invasion, I wrote a front page story in the Washington Post quoting a CIA source saying, "We do not have smoking gun intelligence that there is WMD in Iraq." Now, I did not realize what I had written, because if you say there's not smoking gun intelligence, that means you don't have hard intelligence. That means you're not sure. And I should have realized what somebody was saying to me. And I failed miserably on that front. And if I would just have read and understood my own words where I was quoting somebody, I would have then converted the story, and it would have been uncertainty about WMD in Iraq before the invasion. And now, would it have made any difference? God knows. But it's a really wonderful thing to be in journalism, and you learn. And I haven't been fired yet because there is a realization. There's what's called good faith fuck up, and then there's a bad faith fuck up. And a good faith fuck up is that where I didn't realize what I was being told. I didn't realize what I had written. And all the editors at the Washington Post, who are very smart, one of them could have come over to me and tap me on the shoulder and say, "Hey, do you realize what you're saying here?"
This is a GFF, a good faith fuck up. That's a perfect term for us to use as we get into this. From episode 270 with Scott Kelly. Let's say it, pulling the food through your intestines down to your butthole. That's not happening, that force.
Yeah, it's a vector, I think, for our digestion to know which way to move things.
So what's the remedy for that when you're on the space station? You just poop once a month or something?
The Russians have some really great colloquial expressions, and they have some space ones too. And it's the one about, like, if you can't go to the bathroom in space, just eat more food.
Okay, so eventually it's going to come out of one end, is the method.
It's such a Russian way to look at things. Get a bigger hammer.
Yeah.
From episode 196, Alicia Keys.
And you added one little detail that says everything to me, which was he was early every time.
Oh, he was waiting for me. I didn't have to be like, it's five for here, it's five for here. No, he was there, ready.
Oh, man.
Yeah, because dads are late.
Especially those dads, certain dads tend to be late, and that's okay. I find they come around eventually because my relationship with my father has evolved, and I'm really grateful for it, and I'm glad that we've been able to find a way to really be friends, because at some point I realized, okay, you don't have to be my daddy. Like, we could let that go, but we could actually be friends. We could know each other and get to know who we are as a woman and as a man, and respect that.
Yeah, I had a therapist say to me one time, and I'm so grateful he said this. I was like, I'm at the point I think I might be done with this trying to have a relationship with my dad. I get frustrated, I get let down, I'm disappointed, blah, blah, blah. He said, look, it's not about your dad. Are you the type of person that doesn't talk to their dad? Like, forget him. Do you think you're the type of person when people would describe you as like, oh yeah, he doesn't talk to his dad? And I was like, fuck, I think you're right. That I'm the type of person that no matter what would continue to try.
I would reach out. It would be cool. It's like I'm not harboring all of these things.
Yeah.
And I had a similar experience with somebody that shared a perspective like that to me that totally blew my mind, and it changed everything. She said, I'm always going to be disappointed. I'm always going to be disappointed. I'm going to ask him to come to the thing. He's going to say he's going to come to the thing, and then he's not going to show up to the thing. And then I tell myself I'm not going to be disappointed because it's fine. I know he's not going to show up, but then he doesn't show up, and then I'm still disappointed, and I'm kicking myself because I'm like, why? You knew that already. I'm just over that. Let's just forget it. And then I turned up to another level when I had kids, because I was like, you know what you're not going to do? You're not going to do this shit to my kids, because that's not happening. So that elevated. And she was like, so why do you keep asking him to do things that you know he's not going to do? And I was like, oh. She was like, it's like you're setting him up to disappoint you. You're like, you have these different friends. You can call this friend for when you need to vent, and you can call this friend for when you need to be to an appointment on time. And that's who you call.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Why are you setting him up to not come through for you? It changed everything. Wow. And I was able to look at it from that perspective, and I was like, why am I doing that? I'm trying to punish him or something. And in a way, I was.
Well, and I think people do this in relationships a lot where they, especially if people that have a hard time accepting that they're loved, they're having a hard time believing they're worthy of love. So then they start creating tests for the person that they can't pass.
That was it. And it was deep. So that changed so much for me. And I was able to start a relationship with him in a new way based on knowing who he is as a person and accepting who he is as a person. We do this thing where we try to make people who we want them to be, not who they actually are. And so I was able to like look at that and I said, you know what? I'm going to stop asking him to do the thing that he's probably not that great at doing. It's just how it goes. And I'm going to ask him to do the thing that I notice goes well. And when I started doing that, we started to be able to connect and I felt good. And, you know, so it's so deep.
I thought in the book you did a really good job of being gracious about his position, which was he was 27. This was not a planned pregnancy. He kind of found out when your mom had made the decision, yes, I'm going to keep this baby, right? And so I think you're pretty gracious about recognizing like, oh, this wasn't his plan per se. So, you know.
It's hard. And who teaches you how to be a parent? At what point do you get the memo like, okay, here's all the guidelines of how you parent. Nobody knows how to do this shit. It's literally super confusing. It's scary. It's totally a whole new world. And then
the stakes are so high.
You know, it's not like you guys are married and you plan to live the rest of your life together. That's terrifying because then you're like, oh my gosh, what do I do with that? Like, so I realized obviously in the beginning I was totally, you know, pissed off and heated and all the shit. And I talked about that too because that's fair. I had a right to feel like that. But I also realized after a while, like the only person that's angry, heated, and feeling this wrath that you swear you're slinging everywhere is you.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't have a clue that you feel like this. How does he know? He's going off living his life chilling. I'm sitting here harboring all the anger and like I'm darkening my spirit holding on to something. But look, it's all a journey and it is hard. Not to say any of this is easy. It's layered and all that, but finally getting there, you know, I feel you. And I'm glad that it came off gracious because, you know, that's how I feel at this time in my life for sure.
We have a saying in AA, which is having resentments is like drinking poison, hoping your enemy dies.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
You're
exactly
like punishing
it.
yourself to get even with them. It's wild.
Oh, deep. That might be a song.
Oh.
I feel like that might be
You don't
a
even need to
song.
credit me. You don't even need to credit
All
me.
right. No, I'll just credit AA.
From episode 251 with John Bon Jovi. Now, growing up in New Jersey, first of all, I love you on Stern. You're always the greatest interview. I think it's adorable you guys are so close. And I loved hearing him bitch about inducting you into the Hall of Fame for 6 months leading up to it. It was like every episode he lamented that. When you would hear that, would it make you laugh or did you start feeling guilty?
A little of both, because I do know him so well. If you know him, you know that the guy that's off mic is completely different than the one on the mic.
Yeah.
And the backstory is, and I'm sure you've heard it, but it is true. When I called him on the phone and I said, I have to come over to your house to see you today, you know, at first he thinks, are you okay? And then it was like, you're not coming to my house. And I'm like, well, I am coming to your house. So when are you going to get there? Long story short, we finally negotiated the deal. And he said, you have to meet me at this location and be in the back seat of my car. Because when I come out, I'm going to tell the driver to keep rolling. So this was like a mob meeting. You know, he's got his driver in a car. I got a driver in a car. I tell his driver to get out of the car. And there's no R in that. Get out of the car. and I get in the car. And then he comes in the back seat.
This is real. This happened in the back seat.
Everything I'm telling you. He closes the door in the back seat of his car, and then I tell him what it's all about. And I says, and honest to God, you're my first and only choice. And he said, I'd been asked a whole lot of times by a whole lot of people, but you're the only one I can't turn down. I'm in. I said, thank you very much. It was an emotional little moment. I got out of the car to leave, and I went home and I called my manager. And if you know anything in the music business, Irving Azoff, you know that name is.
I don't.
He's a legendary manager. And he says, He said, yes, no problem. He said, absolutely yes. He goes, did you tell him it's in Cleveland? I go, no. No. I said, that's what I pay you for.
And I think that's where the rubber met the road in this whole thing. It's like, once it started occurring to him that he was going to be flying to Cleveland, it all
unraveled. That he had to sleep in a hotel in Cleveland. It scarred him. But I told him, I said, Howard, you don't got to bring a passport to come to Cleveland. It's okay.
Right. There's no immigration line you'll stand in for hours. From episode 210 with Melissa McCarthy. Melissa McCarthy.
Yes, Dax Shepard.
God, I love you.
Right back at you.
But we're both from the Midwest, and I do wonder. So I think my wife in particular, she's a very good person, the best person, more good than me.
Yeah, oh, my God, by a landslide.
Yes.
And I like you a lot. I like you a lot, but sometimes I think she's so good that I'm like, in the end, are we going to find out she's super shady? Because it just seems too good.
I couldn't agree more. That bitch has secrets for sure. Because... I'm never shocked when it's the guy like Bill Cosby, where I'm like, of course the guy was going around telling people they can't swear doing stand-up and shaming Lisa Bonet for doing nudity. Yes, that makes sense.
And the sweaters. I never trusted the sweaters.
They can't be trusted.
Mm-mm.
But, okay, so Kristen stocks the house with very responsible cleaning ingredients.
I know. I actually knew. I was like, if I say Pine Sol, I feel like Kristen's gonna text me and be like, there's all these. I'm like, I use vinegar too, but today I just hit it hard. I'm like, you know what? I want everybody all day to be like, God, she really cleaned that bathroom.
Yes, exactly.
So I wanted a little proof.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. Kristen and I have this silly thing that happened where I had cut myself like in the afternoon, and then I had used toilet paper to get rid of all the blood, and then I purposely put the toilet paper like on top of the trash can so that when she got home, she'd be like, oh my goodness, what happened to you? But then someone threw something else out in there, and then I found myself rearranging the toilet paper so the blood would be on top just so I could get attention.
That's so great. And then you just walk in limping or like holding your wrist like, oh, this? No, it's fine.
Of course, I tried to play it off like I can't believe she found that. I was trying to hide it. And then I came clean. I guess that's
you
progress.
Told her. See, that's why you're lovable. The weirdness plus the honesty is like a wonderful combo.
Yeah, scumbag and then apologetic about it.
I always feel like Ben is Kristen and I'm you, and we're all doing fine. But Ben's a much better human, a better person than I will ever be. And most people that know us as you do are like, yeah, that's pretty accurate.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought it up because I think that. And I was like, I don't know if I bring that up, it'll be met with open arms. But yeah, I would say that's a really good,
fair.
We're each other. We're each other.
Why? In what way is he better than you? I'd like him to prove it.
He's super patient. And I'm always like, hot, cold. I mean, anything. I'm like, that's outrageous. Sure. Somebody's got to help these people. And he's like, well, let's figure out a way to help them. But I've got to take 7 laps around the house going, somebody has to do something. And meanwhile, by the time I'm done ranting, he's like, so I called and looks like if we do this, it can really help. So I did that. And I'm like, all I've been doing is outside swearing. And like, he just does it and like does it better. And I'm like, oh, great. He goes, great intentions. Your process is not always wonderful.
From episode 259 with Joseph Laycock.
We're not good at this, and because we're not good at this, we need to be extra vigilant about the legal process, about evidence, about cross-examination, about all these things. Like, they are there for a reason because we are so fallible.
Yeah, and this is what I tell my students all the time is critical thinking, if you're doing it right, should hurt, right? Actual critical thinking should really make you uncomfortable and should make your head hurt. But if critical thinking is making you feel good, that probably means you're doing it wrong, right? That probably means you are just engaging in confirmation bias and you are just ignoring anyone who disagrees with you and then patting yourself on the back for, seeing through the fake news.
You're so right. To be presented with proof that confirms what you already thought is not critical thinking. Finding out things are counterintuitive and completely opposite of what you assumed is probably that's a great way to approach it. Is that it probably feels uncomfortable.
Yeah, because I think all the time people are really engaging in something like anti-intellectualism, right? And they say, well, what does Fauci know about disease, really? And they're like, I'm a critical thinker. I ignore Dr. Fauci about coronavirus.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It can feel like critical thinking, but it isn't.
Episode 202 with Rob Lowe. You guys, you shot that in Arkansas, right?
Oklahoma.
Oh, Oklahoma.
Tulsa.
One of my favorite parts of your story is getting to the hotel, checking in, learning that Francis, in his wisdom, has given the Socs, the actors playing the Socs, they're in better rooms and they have more per diem.
Totally.
And when you're checking in with the young Tom Cruise.
Yep.
And the room is not to his liking. Is that how the story goes?
Yes. That part of it was when we went to New York. All the LA people survived the LA auditions and then had the handpicked people had to go to New York to face the New York version. And so it was me and Tom Cruise and Emilio and C. Thomas Howell. And we got, first time I ever stayed at the Plaza Hotel. And we check in and Tom finds out that we're sharing a room.
Okay, that's the...
And just goes ballistic. And you know what? To me, what's great about the story is there's certain people who have always been who they are, and that element of them has powered them to where they are today, and the rest is history. And the notion that a 18-year-old actor with a walk-on part in Endless Love and like a seventh lead in Taps.
Yeah.
Could have that kind of like wherewithal.
Yeah.
You know? I remember going, wow, this guy is the real deal. I mean, it made me laugh and it was gnarly, but at the end of it, you can't argue with the results. He's had his eye on the ball since day one.
That's what I liked about it too. It's like no one knocks on anyone's door and says, hey, you want to fucking be in 12 Mission Impossibles? That's not how it works. Like those people, they're that way and they make it happen. I thought there's something, oddly interesting about that.
I've gone down the rabbit hole recently of watching these YouTube behind the scenes of Mission Impossible, all the stunts that Tom's doing and Top.
Yes.
And it took me back, man, to being in the Tulsa gymnasium where we had to learn to do backflips. For whatever reason, Francis had it in his head that he wanted us to do backflip. I mean, Francis had a lot of ideas that I don't know what was going on, but you ever tried to do backflip? It's really scary. Like you think you're going to fall and break your neck. It's not easy.
I hold people who can do backflips on the same level as Rhodes Scholars. I think it's the most fantastic physical feat someone can do.
It's hard as fuck to learn. And Tom was relentlessly competitive. He ended up being the only one who can do a backflip. It is in the movie The Outsiders for no reason.
I remember it.
He runs out of the house and does a backflip for no reason, just to do it.
But that's what people who do backflips, that is what they do. They are for no reason.
Yes, our friend Ryan Hansen does them every couple hours.
See, it's a thing.
Episode 213, The Fact Check for Bradley Whitford. That was good.
It's really, really good. You were about to tell me something about Hassan did.
Yeah, when we started this, I was saying
Hassan
had a good, there's, as in Thursday's episode, we noted that there are so many videos, there are so many things circulating, there are so many things to watch, and no one can expect everyone to watch all the things. But Hassan Minhaj posted...
Nikki's brother.
No. Posted a kind of short episode, essentially. And it was speaking very directly to the Indian American community about getting involved in acting and not just looking at it from afar, because we're benefiting from civil rights. We are benefiting. The Immigration Act was piggybacked on the civil rights movement.
You're saying there's some obligation.
Yeah,
maybe.
there's an obligation. Yeah. I mean, I've been thinking about this for days, and a few people have asked my thoughts on all of this, because I said it on here 100 times that I just wanted to be white.
Sure.
I always wanted to be white. And that's true. That's a part of my story. I did. I wanted that. And I did everything in my power to strip away my otherness, my Indianness, all of it, so that I could blend in as much as possible, which is, I think, a human thing to do. But I've always looked at it in like it was a defense mechanism that I feel like I created or something, like that I was unique and like figuring out how to like put this otherness aside. And I've never really thought to examine it from a little bit more of a bird's eye view, which is like, why did I feel like I had to do that?
Right.
And it's part of this whole conversation we're having, and I also blame myself because, sometimes me and you will have these debates, or me and Eric was having a debate yesterday, and like I'll have like quote debates, and they're like intellectual debates about these topics, and they affect me a lot more than if we had an intellectual debate on on like CRISPR.
Sleeping with your sister on vacation.
Yeah, moral dumbfounding. Yes.
Yeah,
And for a while I was like, why am I feeling this so much? Like I couldn't even recognize why I felt emotionally tied in a deeper way. And at one point I was like, oh yeah, because I am a person of color.
Yeah.
And often in these conversations, in these debates, I'm the only person of color. And that is something I did. Like I created that. I created this system where I've basically
you didn't go to babysit Will Smith's kids.
I'm not regretful. I love the way my life has turned out.
I'm teasing.
I just started thinking like, oh, every decision I've made since I was like 5 has been just surround yourself with as many white people as possible and blend into their surroundings and their situation and be like them. And now I'm expecting you guys to defer to me because I am the only one who has experienced what it feels like to be judged based on the color of your skin. And I'm expecting other people to like defer and not have a debate about it and just be like, okay, sure. But how can I expect that if all I've done is tell you I'm white, I'm white, I'm white, I'm white? Like, why would anyone take me seriously?
Well, hold on, though. I think so. That certainly could be part of it. But I also think that, and this is a part that is always hard to reconcile, which is nobody on any topic wants to be in a conversation where they're not allowed to have an opinion about it. It's like, well, that's just being taught. So I might search out going to class, or I might search out going somewhere where I'm going to switch into, I'm just absorbing information. But any backyard conversation, no one's entering it with the thought, okay, I'm going to enter this conversation and I'll have nothing to say. So like, you're right. I cannot relate to your experience. I haven't had that experience. And that's dead true. From episode 200 with Sheryl Crow.
We are supported by HP. If you're a parent or you know one, like I do, or you can help take care of kids, you already know what August feels like. It's not summer anymore, it's the pregame. The supplies list, the forms, the we need this printed by tomorrow texts that come in at 9 p.m. And I say this as someone who's been on the receiving end of those texts in a former life. You're ready to help, and then the printer says no, out of ink, blinking at you, useless. It's such a small thing, but it will absolutely derail your night. So when I heard about the HP SmartTank printer from HP, America's most trusted printer brand, I thought this is the kind of thing that actually makes life easier, not in a big flashy way, in a one less crisis way. Instead of those little cartridges that run out the second you need them, the HP SmartTank uses refillable ink tanks, and it comes with up to 3 years of ink included. 3 years. That's 3 back-to-school seasons without the cartridge panic. HP can't fill out the forms for you, but they can make sure the printer is never the reason you're up past midnight. Search HP SmartTank.
So in high school, you were popular. You were a track star. You won a beauty pageant. Did you feel those things like on paper? You could acknowledge like, oh, if I look on the paper and I was on track and I was in honor society, it seems like you did pretty well in high school. Did it feel that way?
I felt like high school was, well, obviously I had no reference, but for me, it was really awkward. I mean, I was a super skinny girl and I had the relationship to being loved with doing good, doing well, being the best.
Uh-huh. Very female of you.
Very female. Yeah. And not disappointing my parents, working hard. The stink eye was a huge motivator for me. So if I ever sensed any disappointment out of my parents, it was just like, So I think that it took me really, to be perfectly honest, until I got diagnosed with breast cancer to figure out that love is not something that you tap dance to get. And that was my relationship with my work, my relationship in the universe. I picked people that demanded that of me. I mean, I've picked some very high achieving men.
Uh-huh.
So, I mean, not to make you my therapist, but...
No, I would love to be your therapist. I'd like to continue this weekly. You'll love my rates. They're very competitive.
It's too bad we aren't in the attic, because if you were on the couch, you'd really, really feel like it was
This
therapy.
would be like a 4-hour, lots of crying, maybe some yelling, beating a pillow. I think I did the really hard stuff after I went through the whole cancer thing. I mean, I think I've done bits and pieces of it through the years, but nothing like that. And I really dug down.
Do you think you could articulate what about that moment caused you to question some of these things?
Well, I had a couple of instrumental people that just seemed to say something that resonated at the moment that I could get it. For years, I've been studying meditation, and I would do it religiously, and then I would stop doing it for a couple of years, and then I would change the kind of meditation. It was just kind of about like how I approached everything. And I started seeing this great healer in New York City when I was living there. He would not say he was psychic, but he was definitely intuitive. And he was like, look, everybody has the ability to be intuitive. It's just, it really depends on how much you want to know. And that's what keeps you from knowing. He said a couple of things that resonated with me. And one of them was that, until you can put yourself first in your life, you will always be at the bottom. And I think that was where I had gotten. In fact, I think I had really mastered, even in a relationship, picking someone that could really manifest that with me, of making me seriously the bottom of the heap. And the other thing is that awakening emotion is the gateway to awakening. So if you're somebody like me who's always been, and this is typical of Westerners anyway, you fall down as a kid, you're not hurt. Just don't think about it. Or, somebody breaks up with you. Just try to stay busy. Don't dwell in it. Everything is about pushing it down, not dealing with it. And that just registers itself somewhere in your psyche.
Have you read Body Keeps the Score?
Yes. And I believe that. There are several really great books that kind of fortify that notion.
From episode 237 with Bill Gates. Woo! Oh, yeah.
Your ability to, take on a completely new discipline, economics or biology or health or, all these things. Are there specific disciplines that have been hard for you?
Well, I have this mindset that I'm still a student. And many people, as they become adults, leave that mindset. I also, for any subject I study, I know somebody who knows the subject super well. So I have a lifeline. Like when I'm studying macroeconomics, I can say to Warren Buffett or Ray Dalio, God, unconfuse me here. So I know I'm not going to get stuck. And that helps you be kind of brave of pushing ahead. I mean, macroeconomics, that's a complicated one. Got quantum computing. There's things that are on the edge where you've got to say, do I really have the time to figure it out or not? Now medicine has become this thing that I get a kick out of, because there's all these diseases our foundation works on. So I've been rewarded for putting the time in, and eventually it all makes sense. You have to be willing to be confused. Most adults, The minute they start getting confused, they're like, oh, this isn't for me. I'm not good at this. So you kind of have to feel good about, wow, I've just jumped in here and I am so confused. And then eventually pursue the things that don't fit until they really do.
That's great advice. From our bonus episode, Day 7.
I feel shady, but I don't feel like this is a problem. I didn't desire more when the thing was over, blah, 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 blah. So this escalates to, I have a ton of injuries. I've had 7 surgeries from shit. I go ride a lot.
Yeah.
And after I ride sometimes on the track, I feel I'm entitled to take 2 Vicodin at the end of the day because I am in pain. That again doesn't feel that crazy. And then this last go around of the hand, then the shoulder, starting like, I don't know, 6 months ago or whatever it was. I'm getting shadier and shadier, and I've not ever yet bought them.
Mm-hmm.
And then I do.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. And for the last 8 weeks, maybe, I don't really know. You would know better than I would. I'm on them all day. Mm-hmm. And I'm allowed to be on them at some dosage because I have a prescription, and then I'm also augmenting that. And then all the prescriptions run out, and I'm now just taking 30 mil oxys that I've bought at whenever I decide I can do. And again, in my addicty brain, I'm like, I don't take them after 4 so I can sleep. I'm taking stool softeners so I'm not constipated. I'm doing all the dishes, and I'm being a dad, and I'm interviewing people, and the interviews seem to be going pretty well, and it's feeling very manageable. And I'm thinking, this is very manageable. And then primarily you start saying, what are you on? Or why are you different? Or what's happening? And I start lying to you pretty regularly. And I hate it. And I'm lying to other people.
Yep.
And I know I have to quit, but my tolerance is going up so quickly that I'm now in a situation where I'm taking, 8 30s a day. And I know that's an amount that's going to result in a pretty bad withdrawal. Yeah. And I start getting really scared, and I'm starting to feel really lonely. And I just have this enormous secret. And I create a schedule.
You try to handle it yourself.
I try to handle it myself, and I come up with a schedule that I'm going to take, 8, then the next day I'm going to take 7, then I'm going to take 6, then blah, 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 and then I'm going to be down to a half. And I go, well, day 1 when I'm supposed to step down, I'm like, oh, I wasn't anticipating that this was already going to feel bad after just 1 less. So I don't step down the first day, and then I don't step down the second day. And now I'm really panicking because I don't have many left, and I know it's getting worse. And I now start getting pretty visibly detoxy and withdrawal-y, and I lie and say I'm having an arthritis flare-up. And then 10, maybe 11, 12 days ago,
Yeah, something like that.
you and I are driving in the car, and I'm now on my 4th lie to you of the day, and I just can't. I can't do it. I can't. I'm gaslighting you, and I know I am, and I'm making you feel crazy, and I'm making Kristen feel crazy. And so I say to you in the car, or I start crying a little bit, and I say, I have something to tell you, but I want to tell you and Kristen at the same time. So we go in the gym, and then I tell you guys everything.
Yeah.
And I give you the remaining stuff I have, and I say, please help me because I'm not doing this well.
Yep.
And now I don't really know what to do. I'm like, I've told you guys, I apologize for all the gaslighting I've been doing. And now I have this whole AA situation. and my more importantly, my ego in my 16 years, compounded by the fact that like it's in the news that I have 16 years.
I know the public element makes this so much harder than it is for another person, which is why I'm extra proud. By the way, I said, I don't think you need to start over. I think it's fine. I think we get through this. And
let's also say why, because I think it's relevant. My fear was that if I have one day, I'm going to drink.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do coke because I haven't drank a beer in 16 years and I haven't snorted a line in 16 years. And if I have one day, then I might as well fucking have what I really want and then start over. And my fear of that is I know if I do that, it may take me 3 years to get that back in the cage, and I may die. Yeah. I just know what I'm like on those two things. And so and again, so it's very hard for me to know what part of this is like my addiction and what great stories I tell myself of reasons why I can't just be fucking humble and say I failed. I think I have a very legitimate fear that I would drink. And also I think my addiction is smart enough to say, you can't do that or you'll drink. So what I end up doing is going to a meeting after I tell you and Kristen, and I talk about the thoughts I had, which is, wow, that stuff's confusing because you're kind of functional and it doesn't feel powerless and it doesn't feel unmanageable. And so like I kind of just crack that door, but the guys there aren't necessarily thinking anything. And then the next night I go to a much smaller meeting with some really good friends of mine and I cop to a lot of it.
Yeah.
I basically cop to getting a couple prescriptions that Kristen didn't know about, which again is not the full story.
Right.
And then Saturday, I call my best friend, someone who I look up to so much, who's much older than me and has everything I want as a person and 2 beautiful daughters. And he's just the most amazing man in the world. And I talk to him and I tell him everything.
Yeah.
And he says, you know, your number one character defect is your arrogance. Mm-hmm. You think you're so much smarter than everybody. And he said, and I know it because I suffer from the same one, which is true. I never thought I'm not an addict, but I thought I'm a smart enough addict to do this and be smarter than it and come up with a bulletproof game plan. And he said, you know, it's your number one character defect. And unfortunately, I know the antidote to it, which is humility. And there would be nothing more humbling for you than to tell everyone in our meeting, and then ultimately tell everyone, period. And that was terrifying. That was so terrifying, and yet I could not deny that was the real antidote.
Yeah.
So then I am living in pretty big fear from Saturday till Tuesday. Also, I'm stepping down and I'm really very physically ill.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
I'm like sweating bullets. I'm jerky. My back kills. It's terrible. I've never detoxed from opiates, and I have so much compassion for these junkies who have like fucking cycled through this 20, 30 times. It's yeah.
Oof, I know. Also, you just had your sobriety birthday.
Yes.
And
oh, yes. So let me add that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah.
So my older friend who I worship, one of his first questions was, how'd it feel taking that 16-year cake at the meeting where everyone was being so kind to you and saying how much they admire you? And I said, it was the worst hour of my life.
You were on them.
Oh, yeah. I was high at the meeting having people tell me that they admire my sobriety. Mm-hmm. And I said, it was the worst thing in the world, but my choices in my mind at that time were don't go to the meeting on my 16th birthday, which would have been
crazy.
The biggest red flag in the world, and my secret would be out and I'm dead. And I'm really at that point thinking like, this is my life on the line. It's like the idea that I would have to quit these things tomorrow morning. It just,
Well, the irony, right? Because your life is on the line in the opposite way.
In the opposite way.
Yeah.
But I have convinced myself at that point, again, stupidly and wrongly, that the love I've experienced in that room for the last 17 years has been conditional. They love me because I'm sober. Yeah. And I really convinced myself of that.
Yeah, you have an MO of that, where you think people love you because they love you because you're a good driver. They love you because of this and that. There's just, people just love you. You have to be able to just put a period at the end of that.
It's very hard. Don't you think you have that?
Of course, I think everyone does. But when you're on the other side of it, you know that's just so not true.
You're right.
Yeah,
you're right.
You have to remind yourself.
Well, and then so I had great fear of going to the meeting on Tuesday, and it timed up kind of perfectly where I had been off of opiates for a full 24 hours, and I had taken Xanax the night before to sleep because I couldn't sleep. So Tuesday really was day one.
Yeah.
And then so I went to this meeting, and I've known the men in this meeting for 17 and a half years because I had many attempts before I got, going. And I told my whole story, and I told it honestly, and I went first, and I was crying, and it turned into the most incredible 90 minutes I've ever experienced, where there was just so much love, and there was so much understanding and kindness and unconditional love.
Yeah.
And it's there's probably been many others, but it's the only experience I can remember having that was just grace, the definition of grace. And it was very emotional, and it was a really, really surreal kind of experience. And when it was over, I actually mentally, for the first time in a very long time, felt optimistic because for the last while, a long time, I've known intellectually that things are going to get worse, that each encounter with it has gotten more shady and more dangerous. And I recognized that the next go around would be, oh, I can't get pills, let's snort heroin. And, and I've had a lot of friends that I've watched go through this whole cycle. And I finally have the humility to say, I will not be any different. I won't be special. I won't be smarter. I will be exactly like everyone else I've seen. I mean, Philip Seymour Hoffman, who I just adored and idolized, he had 20 some years. And I think he had a very similar kind of experience that ended in death. And so I'm not smarter than Philip Seymour Hoffman. I'm not more special. I'm not anything more than him. So embarrassed by the thing. Oh, well, I'm not as much now going through it as I thought I would be, but I was very embarrassed by the whole thing. I had really started. Yeah, my ego was like, oh, I've got this under control, and and to admit I don't have control, which is the thing I desire the most, and to openly say that I had lost complete control is hard. Yeah, hard for me.
I think everyone hearing this is going to learn something new about you and maybe themselves, and feel like everyone is going through a hard time. Everyone
is. Yeah, I guess the only thing I would hope people would hear is that, at least in my case, the outcome wasn't anything like I feared it would be. And the secrets are so much more painful than whatever the fallout from owning my secrets was. Yeah, I'm just really, really grateful that you guys, were understanding and didn't feel as betrayed as you should,
No, but that's the other thing. I mean, I'm not letting you off the hook or anything at all, but it is a disease. It's a real disease. When you, and I think we've talked about this before, but when you had surgery, this is maybe a couple years ago,
and I don't know why Kristen wasn't there or something. So I was in charge of administering your pills. And we were just in the middle of conversation.
Yeah.
Normal, like totally like this. And then you'd just be like, it's 2. Like in the middle of the conversation, it's 2 p.m. Like
without looking at my watch.
Yeah, you just knew. Your brain was always counting down the minutes until you could have it.
And that's the part too I want to be honest about, which is the lie I was telling myself was, I'm pulling this off and this isn't powerless and it's not unmanageable because look, I'm interviewing people and I'm going to work and I'm doing all this stuff. But the truth is, while I'm interviewing someone, I'm almost having this out-of-body experience where I'm like, oh, good, this is working. This will end in an hour. I'm going to go pee. I have 2 pills in my pocket. I'm going to try to take one while I'm peeing. That way Monica won't know I took a pill. Oh my God, I think a pill fell out in the Lazy Boy. All I'm thinking about is that there's a pill in the Lazy Boy and you're going to see it. But I'm still... So that's what's fucked up is that my real life gets put to my subconscious. My subconscious is now just operating whatever skill set I have.
Yeah.
But my real thoughts are all day long, when do I have another pill? I can't have too many. I got to stop at 4. Fuck, wow, it's already 4. I can't have, really all I'm thinking about is that. And I'm not actually present, even though there is the facade of being present.
Yeah.
It's very grody that I can do that.
Again, when I saw that, like, we've talked about addiction so much and I hear all the stories, but when I was administering the pills was the first time I really was like, oh, he has no control over this. I don't know. It just really opened my eyes to it in a new way. Like intellectually, I can understand it, but I felt like I could understand it emotionally for the first time of your lack of control over it. And so I know it's like, this is a disease. I really get that now.
And from episode 219 with Jeff Sachs.
So in 1976, after my first foray, into trying to understand the world by visiting East Berlin, I went to Sweden, to Stockholm, and Stockholm's a great place, an amazing, sparkling, really special place. But they have what became famously called the middle way between capitalism and communism. And the term that they have used for it, and by that point it was basically a half century old, is social democracy. And the main party that kept power for most of the time was the Social Democratic Party. So I got there in 76 and whoa, that's interesting. Okay, I've seen one, I've seen the other. I spent 4 years in college understanding this debate, but this is really something. This is quite interesting. So I became a social democrat in 1976. And I pretty much held that view all the way since then. And the idea of social democracy is it's a market economy. It's mainly private companies, but it's decency. Everybody gets a chance and everybody gets health care. Everybody gets education and so on.
Really quick, can I just ask so that people are following along? Am I right to say that in that paradigm, you're basically circling some industries that you've decided shouldn't be for profit?
Well, for example, healthcare, you say that is a public service. That is what in economics we call it a merit good, meaning everyone should have it. If you're poor or you're rich, you got it. It's part of your human rights.
So we have one thing in this country, which is the fire department. Doesn't matter if you're dead ass broke, your house is on fire, you call. We've decided everyone should have access to people putting their house out.
That's correct. And we have some in the health side. We have Medicare for everybody over 65 and so forth. But in the social democracies, and they became strongest in Northern Europe, especially Scandinavia, which is 3 countries, Sweden, Denmark, and Norway. They went a long way to, you pay a lot of taxes, and then you get a lot of public services. And the public services you get start from family leave time that both the mom and the dad get up to a year of paid leave, and then guaranteed childcare, and then quality education and everybody gets health care and everybody gets basically free or very low cost higher education if you qualify to either, get into the vocational or university system and so on. So their idea is pay a lot of tax and get a lot of benefits. And the society is not completely equal. And there are some billionaires and there are millionaires, but it's definitely much more equal and much more egalitarian in the ethic than in America.
I have a quick question. Are there any examples of social democracies where it's as diverse as it is in the United States?
Great question. Because I can see a lot of people going, yeah, that would work in Scandinavia. You have this homogenous population. They have good natural resources. They're set up to kind of win.
There's less maybe underlying social issues.
Yeah, so it is really right in history that kind of social homogeneity, everybody speaks one language, same religion. Basically, they were all farmers. They weren't really set up to win, interestingly. They were pretty late developers. They were pretty poor until the end of the 19th century. And actually, the way social democracy emerged was after 3 decades of a lot of labor strikes, general strikes, strife, unhappiness. It was not a happy place. But then they figured out we want social peace because we really are in this together. In Sweden, they made an agreement in 1937, famous agreement, to make social peace. And that's when social democracy really took hold. So it's not that it was fated to be the case. They had to invent it. But what is true is it came more naturally. They felt we're all in this together. America is so divided. The truth is, it is, I think, our greatest strength is our diversity. Mm-hmm. It's what makes America really special. It's what has allowed America to attract the greatest talent in the world, and people coming poor but with phenomenal talents, or people coming like the great scientists that were the refugees from Hitler in the 30s that helped make America so dominant in science and technology afterwards. But it's also our weak spot, because this is a country that was founded on slavery, founded on genocide of native populations. And there's a deep, deep, deep streak of cruelty in American history, as well as this incredible glory and achievement that I think diversity is our greatest calling card. But when you look at it, it's absolutely correct that diversity means we don't have the feeling that we're all in this together.
Exactly. Yeah, there's so much in-group, out-group within the U.S.
Exactly. But, the problem, and what I say as an economist is, come on, even if you're thinking in those ways, let me explain to you how it works so well for everybody to have that common system. So I'm constantly asked, well, that's Sweden, that can't apply. And by the way, when you do the work that I do, which is seeing that something works and then trying to apply it somewhere else, the first line for anything and everything is, well, that won't work here. And the truth is, a lot can work here, and a lot of, things can really be learned, but it doesn't come naturally. And in our country, the you're in it on your own approach